Hello friends, this is Miss Tammy, and today our project will be Jakarta Cityscape Collage. Jakarta Cityscape Collage. Today we're going to be using oil pastels, a white one. We're going to be using scissors, glue, watercolor paint, and we need a container with water and a paintbrush, along with some colored paper and some black paper, which I have here. So we have some vocabulary words, so we'll start with that. Open up to a clean piece of paper in your drawing book, and in the back, on the back of your paper, I'd like for you to write your name on the bottom with your class. Put your name and your class on the bottom. That's always the first thing that we do. And here are the vocabulary words. We have 5 today. The first one is Jakarta Cityscape. Jakarta Cityscape. It could be any city, but because this is where we live, we will call it our Jakarta Cityscape. A cityscape is an artwork that focuses on the city. A landscape is an artwork that focuses on the land. Today we will do a cityscape. Go ahead and write that down on the back of your paper. Our next vocabulary word is wax resist. Wax resist. What is wax resist? Wax resist is when wax and water resist each other. So here in my project, I used this waxy crayon, or this oil pastel, this white one, for the clouds in the sky. Then I took my watercolor paint and I painted on top. And the wax, or the oily crayon, and the watercolor paint resisted each other, so they did not mix together. So you can see my lines here of my waxy crayon. They resisted each other, which means they did not mix. So that is wax resist, because oil or wax and water resist each other. They do not mix together. Okay, so that's my second vocabulary word, is wax resist. My third word is straight lines. For our project, we are going to be using straight lines for our buildings. Our buildings will be straight lines, made up of straight lines. Then our next word is curved lines. Curved lines. We will use curved lines for the clouds in the sky. You can see here that I have used straight lines when I cut out pieces for my buildings, the black paper, and then I use curved lines with my oil pastel for the clouds in the sky. The straight lines and curved lines. And the last word we have here is collage. Collage. Collage is artwork when you take pieces of paper and you put them together onto a surface. So here I took pieces of colorful scrap paper. This was leftover scrap paper, and instead of throwing it away, I saved it and I cut them up into pieces and I glued them onto my black buildings. So this was the collage part, where I took pieces of paper and I glued them on top. Collage you can use with any materials, not just paper, but anything. But for our project, we will be using paper for our collage. So we have 5 vocabulary words: Jakarta Cityscape, wax resist, straight lines, curved lines, and collage. Turn your paper over to the clean side and let's start our cityscape. The first thing that I'm going to do is, with my white oil pastel or waxy crayon, I'm going to draw in the curved lines for the clouds in the sky. Now, the clouds in the sky are made up of all different types of curved lines, and they're moving. As the clouds move through the sky, they're shifting in their shape and size. And so we want to show that through our curved lines. I'm just cleaning off my oil pastel because it has some color on there. You can do that with a tissue. And the first thing I'm going to do is I will draw some curved lines in the top part of my paper. When you think of clouds in the sky, you might think of movement because the clouds move through the sky. So now you can't see my crayon marks because it's a white crayon on white paper, but that's okay. Later we will be surprised to see what it looks like. So I'm drawing curved lines and wavy lines all throughout my paper. Okay? Okay, now I finished that. In my sample, I used blue for the sky. Sometimes the sky might be reddish or orange, especially during sunset. So you can pick. You can either do blue or you can do reds and oranges. So you can use cool colors like I did. I did blues and purples, or you can do warm colors like reds and orange and yellow. So this one I did blue, cool colors. So next I'm going to try some warm colors. Now, when I'm painting, I have my water here. It's a little blue because I used it before, and I have my paintbrush, and I have my paints in front of me here. Now let me show you some techniques with how to paint. First of all, we have our water here and the paintbrush in here, so we're wetting our paintbrush. Now we're holding our paintbruch like a pencil, and we're holding it towards the top part here, towards the top end over here. And now I need to prepare my watercolor paints here. So my brush has a lot of water in it, and I'm going to put it into the yellow, and I'm going to add some water to it to activate the yellow. So I've added water to my yellow paint, and I'm moving it around very gently. I certainly don't want to hold my paintbrush like this, and I don't want to push it in like this into the paint, because then it's going to ruin the bristles on the paintbrush. It's going to make them all jagged and crumbled up, and we want to keep the bristles of our paintbrush nice and straight so that when we paint we get a straight line and we can control the paint better. So I am gently moving the paintbrush in a circular motion in my yellow paint. There. Now my paintbrush is ready. So now I'm going to add the paint to my paper. I'm going to get more paint. And you can see here where I have painted, where I put the waxy crayon, you can see the waxy crayon popping through now because the watercolor paint and the waxy crayon resist each other. They do not mix. So that's why I can see the waxy crayon. Now I think I'm going to mix in some orange. So I'm going to wash my paintbrush out gently and run it across the edge of my container like this. I don't ever want to tap it like this. If you tap it like this, then the water will